What's up, fam? In case y'all haven't noticed, foreigners see the United States as a lick where citizens of this country have a hard time getting government assistance if needed, housing assistance if really needed, proper education if needed, if they're struggling, don't have the means, depending on where they came from or where they're at. It's hard for citizens to get certain. Hell, I remember when I was single, trying to go to school to get my nursing degree and trying to get, insurance and food for my kids to help support. I was making $12,000 trying to go to nursing school, trying to come up. And I mean, I was like scrutinized trying to get food stamps and Medicaid for my children. And you know what's so funny? Not necessarily from my first caseworker was from what it sounded like on the phone was a white dude. He asked me some questions, I answered them, boom, give my little assistance. When my case worker became, she was either Caribbean or African. This woman was scrutinizing me to the T, asking all kind of questions and then accused me of fraud, which now I see why, because you remember, that saying that they say when people accuse you of doing something, it's a good chance it's because they've done it themselves. Well, now I'm starting to think that that probably was the case, because she even accused me of me and my ex getting divorced and or filing false paperwork. I'm like, if you know so much about me, then you know that I'm I'm paying rent. You know that the car I have is paid off. She is paying on a house. The car she has, she's still paying. So you sitting there telling me that I'm going to sit here and pay extra money for rent, insurance, whatever the case may be, just for a few $100 worth of food, $200-300 worth of food per month. Like seriously, I said, but you go ahead and so I tried to file a complaint on her, but they wouldn't let me change it anyway. It was toward the end of my need for this anyway, and so eventually, like I said, got off of it, and I'm where I'm at now. But still, yeah, I think that's what it was. They say people who accuse you of doing stuff usually are the ones who's doing it themselves. So now this is no different. We saw the issues with Somalis, but anyway, what I was trying to get at was that, but these foreigners, they could come in and get tens of millions, even billions of dollars from the government without with very little to no oversight and get away with it for years. I did a story recently about a brother who took over this, I want to say like a food pantry organization where they was handing out sandwiches and stuff to kids after school for years. He took it over and then he kind of scammed some money, misappropriated money. And and I say only, I'm not condoning what I'm saying, but in context, he only may have misappropriated $100,000, a little over $100,000. He's already getting sued, getting investigated and everything. But yet you got foreigners who've been doing these things for years. And it's just not coming out because somebody, a journalist or two, did some research and put it out to the nation for the world to see. And now the government wants to stop it. Crazy, ain't it? But anyway, we got a new scam here. Well, we got another scam. I won't say new. Got another scam here. This is out of the great state of Texas, where these foreigners are getting over with these HB1, H1B visas, and again bilking the government out of millions. Y'all remember this when everybody was all upset because Trump said he wanted to charge $100,000 fees for people to come in who want to come in and use that H1B visa. Y'all thought something was wrong with it. Y'all thought it was crazy. Well, now I see why he did it. So anyway, let's get into this story real quick. And then, I give my take, and I want y'all to give y'all take in the comments too. Don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. When you do subscribe, hit the notification bell so every time I drop a video, you will be the first to know about it. Let's hit it.
Well, forget Somali daycare centers. Another major scam has been revealed in the United States, in Texas in specific, and possibly the rest of the country. Overseas fraudsters are allegedly exploiting something called the H-1B visa.
Funny, real quick. When I first saw this story, I don't know where I saw it, how I saw it, but I saw someone in the comment, one of these news stations say, question who this woman was that did this. Who is she and why is she doing this? Who is she supposed to be? Well, the woman actually is actually a journalist on a news station. But when you got certain people who want to cover up things, who are mad when you bring stuff to the forefront, and now they got an issue. Anyway, let's continue.
Which allows employers in the U.S. to hire and sponsor foreign nationals to fill jobs requiring a bachelor's degree or higher. But all you need to do to get in on this, apparently, is set up a business at a home address. And there are allegations that foreigners are using these home addresses to create fake businesses and fake job postings to bring in their overseas buddies. It's all been exposed by Blaze TV host Sarah Gonzalez. Have a look at this.
I was wondering, I was just looking for more information on Quibbit's technology.
Can you call cops?
Yeah, sure. I would love for the cops to come out here. I just have some questions about the H-1B visa workers workers for your company in here. Do they work out of here?
No.
Well, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put the link not only to this video, but the link to her actual investigative video. And if I forget it, y'all just let me know and I'll put it in later. But I'm gonna try to put it in today. Once I do my editing. But this is the information that she puts out is crazy. I mean, she talks about that all this stuff is public record, easy to obtain by anybody, which again makes you wonder, why hasn't the government did they due diligence and investigated this stuff before she did?
Well, I'm pleased to say that the Blaze TV's Sarah Gonzalez joins me right now on the program. Sarah, welcome to the program. Explain some of this to our viewers here. What is an H-1B visa and how does this scam work?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on to talk about this very important issue that's happening here in the United States. So the H-1B visa was designed for people from certain other countries to come here to this country if they have a very special set of skills, like say, very, very highly developed engineers, software engineers, very high tech, elevated senior management people. This was designed specifically for people with that unique skill set because the idea is, hey, we can't find American workers. We need to import these people to fill American jobs at high levels. But what's ended up happening is that this H-1B visa program that was intended for good is now, of course, being abused by people who want to bring their friends, their family, and by people who, in this particular man's case, I worry that he is what they call a body shop. So a body shop are people who act as consulting companies, bring in a bunch of H-1B workers and farm them out and take a portion of their money that they are making. It's a really, really nasty scam. But unfortunately, the fraud that we've uncovered is just the tip of the iceberg. We started finding so much information here in the state of Texas that we decided we've got to do a multi-part expose just going around and exposing all of this potential fraud that is really happening right in front of our eyes, and nobody seems to be paying attention.
And
back to the body shot. It goes back to the video I did about the white lady who, conned out all that money in Minnesota. Started the whole thing with the Somali people. That's what she was doing. She was like a consulting group. She was the one who got the money from the government to give out to these small little Somali jobs or businesses or what have you. And she would just get her cut on the end, but she called it her salary. But again, it's scamming and it's fraudulent. She trying to make it seem like people bringing information to her saying they want to give money out to the homeless, food out to the homeless or less fortunate. And she was like, okay, well, just fill out the paperwork, give it to me and I'll turn it in. And then, I'll just get my little percentage. That's not what it was. She was the one going to them saying, hey, here's a way you can make some money. Keep your business open with government funding. And then one person tell another. Next thing you know, you got $9 billion of scam money. This is the same thing.
Sarah, this whole debate about skilled visas, we have the same thing here in Australia, where people are worried that, you're bringing in migrants to take jobs of local workers. I have heard that these H-1B visas have been devastating to people who, say, have computer science degrees and things of that nature because they keep getting undercut by foreign workers, and corporations absolutely love these things.
Yes, yes, you're absolutely right, because they can get these foreign workers. They think that they can get them at a lower rate, and of course these workers it's kind of like a new slave that they're importing, because they know that these people are beholden to these companies. They want the H-1B. They have to do exactly what is told to them so that they can continue to keep that H-1B. It's a really, really nasty thing that they're doing. I'll give you a few others as well. I was going through a database that listed all of these H-1B jobs that were out there for people to apply to, and I started noticing something very interesting. What I started noticing is that there were a lot of elementary school teachers. There were a lot of middle school math teachers. There were a lot of bilingual teachers. There were a lot of, in fact, I even found one at Texas A&M University for an athletic trainer. I refuse to believe that we don't have Americans that are able to fill these jobs. It's these people that are exploiting the system. They're abusing the system. And as you pointed out, there are a lot of people in computer science that are very upset. We set up an email address for people to send tips to, and we started receiving a flood of tips that were coming into our email address, and people were saying the same story time and time again. I am a computer software programmer, and I found myself without work because there was an Indian in management who came over and brought over all of their Indian friends, and they refused to hire anyone else who was not Indian or came from India. I received time and time.
I'm gonna stop it right there real quick. This reminds me of when I worked. I don't know if I want to say it. At a certain hospital I worked at. Shout out to everybody that worked there, because they was cool people for the most part, all of them. But I remember when I got hired, and I do believe that I was a token hire at the time. You know what I'm saying? I would not deny that, because what I found out was one of the managers that was there previously was being sued because she was, a foreigner. And she was a foreigner, and she was hiring all of her people in these positions. Other people getting fired for whatever reasons, petty reasons, wrote up for a bunch of stuff, petty stuff. And then next thing you know, she bringing in foreigners to fill these nursing jobs, foreigners all over. By the time I got there, I think there was one black lady who was a secretary. There was another one who was a patient care tech who was a couple years from retirement. She's probably retired by now. And I think that was it. I was the only black nurse. Then they brought in another black LVN. And then they brought in an African dude as a nurse later. But they was hiring us, I believe, because they was trying to do something about that lawsuit. So I don't know if it was an H-1B visa scam or whatever, but I do know that, yes, they would bring in. And then they were telling me how they didn't have to pay taxes for like 5 years. So you wonder why they had to get these, and then they working hella overtime. Can you imagine being a nurse? Dude, I can sit there, I can say that I could work 50, think about this. I could work 50 plus 60 hours a week as a nurse, and probably a third to almost a half of my check will go to taxes. Can you imagine working 60 hours? Let me just make up I don't even know, because I don't want to put out, but let's say you making, let's just say you making $20 an hour. You know what I'm saying? I made more than that as a nurse. But let's say a person making $20 an hour, and you're working 40 hours a week. What's that? Is that 4,000? 20, 40. Shoot, now I can't even think. Now I'm not, like, my math can't do right. Let me pull up the calculator real quick, because I don't want to sound as retarded as I just said. If that's the case, like I said, let's say you making $40 an hour and you're working 40 hours a week. That's $1,600 a week times 52 weeks a year. So let's say $83,200, just 40 hours, and you ain't paying no federal tax. And you might pay some state taxes, social security tax, whatever. But you're pretty much keeping damn near all your money. Now let's say you work in, what's time and a half? 40 times 0.5 is 20. So let's say now let's say you're making $60 an hour times, let's say 15 hours a week, an extra $900 plus the 16 you was already making, real time, y'all, $2,500 a week times 52 weeks. It's $130,000, and you bring home the majority of that. You bring home at least 100 to 120,000 easy a year for 5 years because you're not paying federal taxes. If you live in Texas, you ain't paying state tax. Only thing you were paying is probably Social Security. $130,000 when everybody else is probably bringing 80 or 90. You see what I'm saying? This is the lick that they're getting. But like I said, I don't. So they try to say, so then people try to get mad because Trump said America first. I don't want to be a Trump supporter or apologist, but sometimes some things people say make sense in the grand scheme of things. When you got folk out here taking advantage of a system, are you mad at somebody taking advantage of it? Heck no. You got people who get the overtime, because they want to take advantage of the extra money. I mean, what you gonna get mad at them for? What you gonna get mad at them for to come over here and hit a lick and make hella money, live real good, or better than you? And if need be, can always go back to their home country and living like a fat rat.
And again, story after story after story, it's a huge problem in this country. And I have to wonder what the folks over at the center, the USCIS for Immigration Services, I have to wonder what they're doing.
Well, I mean, Sarah, it sounds like, to break it down, to put it quite simply, it sounds like everybody is getting a cut in this program except the American worker who winds up getting the shaft.
Yes, you're exactly right. You're absolutely exactly right. And as much as I support President Trump and his second term, and as much as I am so grateful to God that we are blessed with another term of President Trump, we need answers on this. We need a federal government that will take control of this. Many people who are outside this country see what's happening with illegal immigration and they think, oh, well, they're taking care of it. They're taking care of the immigration problem. We don't have just an illegal immigration problem. We have a legal immigration problem. It has been heavily exploited and it has been changing our communities, not for the better. So there is still a lot of work that needs to be done in rooting out all of these fraudulent visas and all of these fraudulent jobs and getting rid of them.
But Sarah, there is so much to do in so little time, but there is a bit of good news here. I was struck by this story from the Council on Criminal Justice, which found that murders, and remember, murders are the hardest crime to not report. They're not like a...
All right, let's get into a different story. I was going to talk about that with Trump deporting all these illegals. Murder rate has dropped more than 20%, as you see. So, I mean, that's a different story. Shout out to Trump for that and doing that. But what I want to do real quick, speaking of Donald Trump, President Trump, let's break down this H-1B visa, just in case y'all still think there's a problem. And if you think there's a problem with the man trying to charge so much for these visas, then what you need to do is talk to your people. I'm talking to the foreigners. Talk to your folk about this scamming that they're doing and how it's hurting them and causing and giving Trump a reason to do something like that. That's something I always tell my kids, something my parents always tell me. Don't give them a reason to do what they want to do if you know it's going to hurt you. So, real quick, let's talk about what the new rule change is for these visas. It says President Trump signed a presidential proclamation on September 19, 2025 that imposes a $100,000 fee on new H-1B visa petitions, a huge increase compared to the past cost. Now, think about it. Trump has about 3 years left, so he has to go scorched earth to do these things. Because if you think about it, if Democrats get back in office, if they can let this stuff ride out, take their time, sit on it, then hopefully a Democratic president gets back in, then they can push all this stuff aside and get back to the fear mongering that they love to do. So I can see why he wants come in and go scorched earth and do things immediately because he don't have a whole lot of time. What he need to be doing, he's trying to bring up JD Vance. Now, like I said, a lot of this stuff, I mean, is it helping us? I don't know. As a people, when I say us, I mean black people, I don't know. It could be, could not be. But the issue is there are some pressing issues, and most of them are financial, that the country is probably worried about more than us, unfortunately. So it is what it is. But anyway, let's continue. This is on top of regular, let's see, Houston's passed, and this is on top of regular government and filing fee, which historically were typically $2,000 to $5,000. If you're not paying taxes, so let's say, if you're not paying taxes, what is $2,000 to $5,000 when I can make at least $100,000 easy for the next 5 years and I'm not taxed? You know what I'm saying? I mean, $2,000, that's hell. I get taxed on that almost every check. You see what I'm saying? So if I could just pay you, you know what I'm saying, give you one of my checks, and then for the rest of the year, I got the rest. I can keep the rest. Man, come on. Who won't go for that? They said the rule went into effect 12:01 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on September 21st, 2025, and it's set to last 12 months unless extended. The government says the fee is meant to discourage employers from using the H-1B visas for lower wage or routine jobs and to prioritize high value talent. He's talking about, let's see, how much is $100,000 per new H-1B petition filed on or after the effective date. So instead of a typical few $1,000s in fees, employers now face a one-time six-figure payment to bring a new worker into the U.S. under H-1B visa status. So who has to pay for it applies to the new H-1B petitions filed on or after September 21st, where I said that for workers who are outside the U.S. and seeking a visa stamp to enter. Employers must pay it before petition filing and show proof of payment. Otherwise, the USCIS will reject the petition. Amazing. It does not apply to, now this is what her investigation is going to help probably bring to the forefront. Does not apply to current H-1B visa holders with a valid stamp. They can travel and re-enter without paying a fee again. Extensions of a stay or change of status within the U.S. For example, student on OPT switching to H-1B, or someone transfer employers but never leaving the U.S. That sounds like slavery. Going from plantation to plantation. Petitions submitted before September 21st, 2025, those remain unaffected. Where national interest exemption is granted by the Department of Human Services, I guess, but those are expected to be very limited. So the fee is narrower in application than the initial headline suggests, at least under official clarification. Why it's controversial? Many companies, especially tech, research, medical, and small businesses, rely on H-1B visas to hire specialized workers. Again, I work in dialysis. Dialysis nurses are trained on the job in these clinics. That's how I got started. It was my first nursing job. And what did I get? The job working in a dialysis clinic. And they train you on the job. Then after that, you can go to other clinics, or you can go to the hospital, or what have you, with experience working there. So what I'm saying is that's not a specialty to where you have to have foreigners come over and do that. You can train American citizens. Some sectors like rural hospitals and schools warn it could be impossible to fill critical roles. Not really. Well, let me say it like this, because now they already are working us to death in these hospitals and in this medical field. So yeah, if you minimize or limit the number of people who can come over here and work these jobs in the medical field, it's going to put more of a strain on your current workers. But if you go ahead and train and hire those who live here and pay them what they need to be paid, you probably wouldn't have that problem. Let's see how it works in real life. Example scenario. Let's see. Workers already in the U.S. On the H-1B visa. No $100,000 fee for visa renewals inside the country. Travel back and forth is unaffected. Students in the U.S. getting one if the change of status is approved without leaving. No $100,000 fee. Foreign workers outside the U.S. being hired, employer must pay $100,000 before filing the H-1B petition. So in other words, if you're already here, you're cool. But anybody else who's trying to come over here, shoot, you better save that money. Or what you probably end up doing, like they did when all these people came in during Joe Biden's administration, you got these mules. Or you got these people say, hey, I will pay for you to go to the U.S. You just got to pay me back. So then you mess around, your people got to end up on that stroll, trying to pay back that visa money. And now you got human trafficking that just explodes. But anyway. But anywho, so bottom line, it says President Trump's H-1B plan imposes a significant $100,000 fee on employer-sponsored new visas to restrict use of the program and prioritize higher-end talent. It doesn't apply to everyone, but it dramatically increases the cost for new hires from abroad, and it sparked major pushback from businesses, foreign governments, and legal groups. So there you have it, y'all. Another scam that's being brought to the forefront that needs to be dealt with and addressed and destroyed immediately. Because again, if you mess around and put another Democratic president in the White House, I guarantee you all this stuff will be swept under the rug, and they'll get back to the fear mongering and the Black Lives Matter and the LMNOP community and all those issues that don't mean nothing, because you got stuff like this, which is keeping us, again, as American citizens, from getting those billions of dollars that should be allocated for us in order for this country to truly survive on its own. But anyway, tell me what you think about this story. Leave your comments below. Share it with the world. Let's have an intelligent conversation. You know how we do around here. Don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. Those 4 things cost you maybe a couple of minutes out of your day, but it means the world to us here at this channel. And with that being said, I leave you in peace, love, and I'll see you on the other side.